and I'm going to share my screen with you. Let's do that. That is our Facebook group, which you're more than welcome to join us. Would love to have you. I'll talk about that later. But this is about the NAR lawsuit and impending settlement. And the reason I wanted to do this is I just wanted to get in front of it, start conversations that people should be having with their lending partners, with their buyers. There's uncertainty, there's paralysis. So I guess I should start with who I am. Now, that the picture all the way on the left, that is not me self body shaming and or trying to get through the horror of those shorts. I was a captain of the Penn State basketball team my junior senior year, which means I am competitive AF. And I also am a leader, which is different from a manager. So this is part of what I feel is leading mortgage professionals, real estate professionals, and what some would call disruption. I don't like to call it disruption. You see the picture there, Megan Mars, Andre Munoz, there are our owners. For the first time in my 15 years at the time in the business, they saw my address book and said, "How can we help you make money off of your address book instead of, ooh, let's make money off of your address book," which is kind of the case before that time. So they're very altruistic, and at this point in my life, that's I want to be around people who have my best interest in mind and helping me realize my American dream. Actually, Andre and I actually had the same business coach, unbeknownst to either one of us, and Megan also had the same mastermind group that I did. So we just kind of mesh. And then Brian, he is our new addition and helping us expand and help other people realize their entrepreneurial goals. I've been a broker for 6 years. I've been in the business 20. The other 14, I was a correspondent lender and a banker. And if you look down there at the bottom right, that's my Facebook page. I'm at my limit. I've been at my limit for since 2015, and that's kind of what I was talking about when I was saying that Megan and Andre have always said, "How can we help you utilize your address book to make money?" So, with that said, as I mentioned, the NAR settlement is August 17th, 2024. Um, Now, no one really knows what that's going to look like because there not everybody is settled. Not every major real estate brokerage is settling. So if you hear someone say with some kind of definitive tone, they know what's going to happen. I'm not sure because we just don't know how it's going to shake out. But what I do know from the lender perspective is we have an opportunity to just make a difference. And when people do not have an idea of what's going to happen, they're not going to make a decision. And when I say people, I mean buyers. So we really want to uh, pull back the curtain for buyers on what it's going to look like, and that's how I'm going to do it from the lender side. And you can utilize me or utilize your lender on making it crystal clear what a buyer's option is, and make sure that they're not afraid to buy because they're hearing they have to pay for the their buyer agent's commission. What are we going to do here? We're just going to how do you convey the changes to the buyers with no pushback on compensation? So it's all about mindset through the conversation. Just separating yourself from the competition. And there's really four scenarios as I see it that I think 99% of the transactions will be, and we'll go over that. And then I'm going to do two case studies showing how to present it to the buyers. Now, the reason why I feel like I need to do this because I've been where you are if you're a buyer agent and you're concerned. Listing agents are going to list. I think many realtors, real estate professionals, they do both. And when it happened to me very early in my career, I was a transactional loan officer, and that's very similar to all the other fintechs. Now, there's a picture there of Zach Edey, and Zach Edey is 7'4", played at Purdue. He just got drafted by the Memphis Grizzlies. He's an NBA player. He's elite. Fintechs are great. Fintech loan officers are killing it. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but like especially when it comes to interest rates, it's a commodity. And like the relational mortgage advisor, I want to use Steph Curry as the example because like with Zach, you got a 7 footer, you can't teach height, right? He's going to get you some buckets. You throw it in to him, he's going to dunk. He's going to get a layup. He's going to get a layup or fouled, kind of limited in what he can do, but again, he's elite. But with a relational mortgage advisor, like with Steph Curry, he's a guard. He's going to shoot the long three. He's going to shoot the mid range. He's going to get to the hole. He's really good in the paint. He's really good at drawing fouls, and he's really good at assisting. So he's multidimensional. So if you ask me, my style personally, I prefer the Steph Curry type, not the Zach Edey. Now, there's obviously people and teams who love them some Zach Edey, but when it comes to my business, I want to be agile, mobile, hostile. So when I got started in the business, this was me, the transactional loan officer. I was strictly doing lending tree, and it is the shark infested waters that you imagine. And I was getting my ass handed to me because I was quoting rates that I thought that I could deliver, not knowing all of the legal loopholes that when quoting rates. And I was delivering what you see here is just a fee sheet. If you're in the business, you know what this looks like, and that's what most people are delivering. And I just was quite frankly getting frustrated because I was delivering what I thought I could give, but it wasn't helping me. And the first stage of that was just figuring out what those legal loopholes were and presented it to the client. But then I said, and I got into the business late. I was 37 when I got into the business. So I wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel. And so my question to myself was, how do I improve my conversion and just by I started following the best in the business, and like what are they doing? And they were all about not talking about price, but talking about giving advice, which again, rates are a commodity. If you're giving someone a competitive interest rate, everyone's going to be about the same place. I'm not going to get into all the differences between brokers and bankers, but being a broker, we have the ability to shop rates. So that's off the table. So now what are you going to do to separate yourself? And then it's all about language. Words matter. I'm not selling a loan. I'm helping someone manage what is usually their largest debt and turning it into their largest asset. And by doing that, they are generating wealth, even generational wealth. And then facilitating ancillary services. I'm not just talking about interest rates. I'm not talking about loan programs. I'm trying to get a picture of what their goals are. Like when do they want to retire? Do they think they're going to live in their house for a while? Are you talking to a financial advisor? Are you talking to an accountant? So because I have this large address book, I figured that's how I was going to separate myself from the competition. And if you transpose that onto realtors, same thing. You want to impact conversion. You want all those people that you're meeting with for listing and buyer listings and buyers. How do you improve your conversion rate when you're meeting with people so that when you meet with them, you have Barry Bonds type slugging percentages. And realtor is an advanced certification, as you know, But what about taking it to another level and becoming a real estate advisor? How are you doing that? Instead of selling homes or helping people buy homes, you're helping people generate wealth. Again, it's about the words and the wording, and also facilitating ancillary services, which I'll get to at the end. Now, when you're talking to your clients, I call it the flip side of show and tell. It's tell and show. You tell them what they want to know, right? And these are all things that I'm sure that you real estate professionals are telling them with why they should work with you on either side of the transaction. And if there's someone out there, if you see something that I haven't put on there, just let me know and put it in the chat. But for the most part, this is what most realtors are saying when they're meeting with their clients. But you want to show them without having to tell them why you're different, why you are worth every penny of that commission. And so that's what I'm trying to get across here. Show them what they don't know. And how's that? So what I'm trying to get my realtors to say, like, here are three lenders that I use now. Technically, that's legally, that's compliance wise, that's really not a thing. But it's, I'm not fighting it. Do your thing. If you want to give out three business cards, that's fine. But I want my realtors that I've worked with and trust me to say something to the effect of, Brian shows his clients several loan options that they may not have thought of, and he's big on turning the biggest debt into the biggest asset. You definitely want to talk to him. Something along those lines. So it kind of sets them up for me to sort of wow them without saying, hey, I'm about to wow you. And again, this is how you can utilize me when it comes to this NAR settlement. This was I barely have enough money to buy a house. How am I going to pay for my buyer agent too? That's coming from the disgruntled borrowers or buyers. So I'm going to give you a scenario that I actually just went through on Friday, and it's one of my guys in Harrisburg. His name is Mike. We've known each other for, I don't know, easily 15 years. And he sent me a guy. Um, and I told him, hey, well, the first thing I did was I asked him, have you heard about the NAR settlement? I didn't say, did Mike tell you about the NAR settlement? I asked him if he had heard about it. Now, I had already called Mike and had asked him, what are you hearing about it from your perspective as a realtor? What are they saying in your office? And really, depending on who you talk to, you're going to get a whole bunch of different answers because we really don't know. But I said, hey, Mike, don't worry about it. I'm going to address your borrower comp situation with your buyer, so you don't have to have any kind of awkward conversation. I'm gonna edify you. What I did, and this is what I do for all my clients, is I just give them scenarios and just show them what their options are. And as you see here, option one, which is the current scenario right now, the as everyone knows, the sellers usually pay for both sides of the transaction anywhere from 4 to 6%. And I think personally that that's kind of going to be the majority of transactions. I don't think much is going to change, at least in the beginning. But then there's three other options as I see them. And then the option two is finance commission, meaning bumping up the loan amount so that the buyer agent can be paid, which is going to mean a little bit of a higher payment. You're going to see that in a second. So that's option two. That's putting it in the loan amount. And then option three is financing it in price, which a lot of people are familiar with, bumping up the offer price, asking for seller assist. And then the fourth option is for people who just want to pay that buyer in cash. Maybe the buyer agent is a relative. Hey, I'm going to pay you whatever you're worth, just straight up in cash. And what do those look like side by side? On this the current scenario, all of them, let's say the sale price was 340. And the current that's a down payment of 34,000, doing 10%. I want to do kind of an average 10%. So they're going to have mortgage insurance, which is fine. Um, and you'll see that the interest rate for all of them actually 6.875, because it's really not that much of a difference in how the loan is structured. Um, on option two, the finance commission, you'll see a 3% commission is on the 340 is going to be 10,200. So the loan amount now is bumped up. You have the same offer price and sale price, but the loan amount is 316,200. The down payment now is 23,800, which is 3% less, or a 7% down loan. Option three, that's when it's financing the price, so you're bumping it up from 340 to 350, 350,200. And the 10% down on that is 35,020. And then the paid in cash is going to be the same as the current scenario, except you're going to have higher closing costs. So then the next level of the analysis is like I highlighted the mortgage insurance. You'll see it's not that different. The only one that's different is it's a little bit higher when you finance it. Option two, when you finance it into the loan, that's right here. And then the total payment, I highlighted which one was going to be the lowest payment, which is the status quo as we are right now before August 17th. And the highest is going to be obviously when you finance that amount into the loan. And, like you'll see, let me see if I can blow that up for you. The difference is really only about, what is that, $87 between the status quo and financing it into the loan. So, is it worth that extra $87 a month to pay the buyer agent? I'm going to answer that question a little bit later in detail. And then the cash to close. In all the scenarios, they're about the same, about $50,000, except, of course, if you're going to just pay cash. If the buyer is going to pay cash out of their pocket, they're going to have a little bit higher of closing costs. Which I'm actually going to do a deep dive on that a little, not today, but in another video webinar. So the part of my whole consultation with this guy that Mike sent me was like, so what else? What does all this mean? Like, let's compare. Like we did a side by side. What does it all mean? So it shows you what the lowest monthly payments are, the option one and option four. The lowest total cash to close is option one and option two. Option one, because the seller's paying for the buyer agent's commission, and option two is the less, because it's financed in the commission. It's a lower loan amount, which means you're putting less money down. And then overall, and I like to use a 5-year snapshot because who knows what happens past that. So I'd like to keep it to 5 years. But it is saying the lowest cost loan is option one, the status quo. Now, that's all fine and good, but like the idea for this webinar is the other three options, being aware of them and what do they look like side by side. And I'm not going to go through all of them again, but this summary here will let you know. Option three is the lowest monthly payment. That's if they decide that they're going to pay the buyer commission in cash. And then the lowest total cash to close is the one that's financed. So option one in this case is having the finance commission. And then the lowest cost is option two. That's when it's financed in price. So when I see this, and I told the borrower this, I said, hey, if you are payment sensitive, obviously you're going to, pay in cash, but cash is king in these murky waters. You may want to think about financing it in the financing the commission in the loan amount, which that $87 a month he was okay with, because he's going to keep $10,200 in his pocket liquid anyway. And then that lowest cost loan, option two, financed in price. When I see that one, I think that is the mutually beneficial one for the buyer and the seller, because the sellers don't care what you're doing finance wise. They want to make sure that they're getting whatever they had in their head for net costs. That's what they want to see. And the buyer obviously gets to uh, uh, give an offer price. They're going to have a little bit higher of a loan amount, but it's so negligible. That's probably the one that where, like, if you want the listing and the selling, and now someone may say, well, what if the appraisal comes in and that the option financing it in price? What if the appraisal comes in low? Well, I have that we would do an appraisal gaps strategy, which you can find. I'll put in the link where you can find how that. So, what if it is a disgruntled first-time home buyer talking about, oh, now I got to pay the borrower. I'm not sure if I want to do this. Oh, by the way, at the end of this consultation with the borrower that Mike sent, the first thing that happened was he was blown away by the analysis. He said it. I didn't prompt him or anything. He said the other lender didn't do anything like this and made it so clear. So that's what I mean about separating themselves by using me to present the options like this. And then the second part was I had absolutely no pushback from him on paying the buyer commission, his buyer agent, Mike's commission, because he said, all right, well, if Mike, thinks we can offer higher pricing and it'll get accepted, we'll do it that. Or worst case scenario, I'll just finance it in commission. I'm willing to pay that $87. And then the third thing is, yeah, he just said that was it. He was just saying, uh, those are the two options I see. And he totally, so now Mike didn't even have to have a conversation about how he was going to get paid. And they could, whatever they decide, they could put it in the buyer agent contract. Because, as I told the borrower, and I had shown him all those things in the beginning of the conversation, I said, hey, Mike, time is money for realtors. And he's going out like he's got you as a buyer and you're going to buy, but there's 10 other people out there that were just tire kickers and that Mike is jumping in his car with and everything. Well, now Mike can't do that. He's got to have the commitment from the buyers, and this is what you need to be aware of. And he has all the connections with off market homes that might not be listed, all those things that make buyer's agent important. But I just made sure to let the buyer know that Mike was worth every penny. And that's what I want my realtors to understand, and want my realtors to be comfortable to send a buyer to me and know that I'm gonna do that for them. So okay, getting back to what if you have a first-time home buyer? Because I'm sure everybody's been experiencing this, and that's when I have the generating wealth talk. I would go through those same four scenarios, and then say, "Hey, it looks like you're going to want to finance it into the commission." And so the first thing I did was I just Googled in State College what a one bed, one bath would look like, and I just rounded up to 1,300. So somebody's paying 1,300. What if they had $20 renter's insurance and they wanted to buy that same house that's 340? Now in State College, Pennsylvania, you can get a three bath, single family, or close to outside of State College for 340. I actually looked it up. So, and so this is what it looks like. I would go through the scenario, this side by side. You see here the 1320 is the rent plus the renter's insurance, going over to the transaction 34,000. And again, this is where they financed it. They only put 7% down interest rate. This is their monthly payment, but my software will break it down based on the tax bracket to what the tax benefit is and how much principal you're paying. So the net monthly cost is a little over 2,100, which is $807 more than rent. Yes. But what does it look like when you say put the tax benefit? And again, I'm only doing a 5-month snapshot with my clients because I don't think it's healthy to be even projecting that far out, because someone's doing something with their mortgage every 4 to 7 years anyway. Now it's kind of bumped up. It may be 4 to 8, 4 to 9 years, but you get my point. So if I'm talking to a borrower, a first-time home buyer that's concerned about this new NAR settlement and they got to pay the buyer, and they say, "Oh, well, I'm going to rent and what?" No, well, look at this. There's $12,000 difference in the tax benefit, and then the other thing I always like them to see is the net worth in 5 years by buying, which is a six-figure difference. And so that's impactful. And I don't have to say it. It's just my normal everyday conversations I'm having with borrowers, right? So if you recall, the closing costs are about 50,000 in all three scenarios, except for paying in cash. And so the second part of this is like that's all I have. I'm hearing a lot of people say, it's too expensive to buy a house. I can't afford it. And at $50,000, I don't, that's a lot of money. And me personally, as a mortgage advisor, I'm not a fan of taking all your liquid cash and putting it into an illiquid asset, which is a house. So this is what I call the house hack. And again, this is just a what if. So you have a person renting out one bedroom, one bath, and they're thinking about buying that house. Now, the house hack. What if you put 5% down on that house, which is only $17,000? It's going to be a higher payment. Oh, and also you're renting. You're going to be renting and charging $900 rent, right? So you've seen this before. So now they're only putting $33,500 down, cash to close and down payment. So that leaves them 16,500 for whatever furniture and what have you. And if that person had rented out two of those bedrooms for $900 and taken that money and paid down their principal with it, they'd pay that house off in less than 10 years, a little over 9 years. So that's one of those things. And again, the tax benefit of doing it that way. Here's the first scenario: just somebody buying a $340,000 house by themselves. Here's the house hack, right? And obviously, the tax benefit is a little bit less over 5 years. But then when you look at the net worth, I think they're not going to worry about that 2,000 something dollar tax disadvantage by renting out two rooms. And this would work for a house that had like a in-law suite that you could rent out, or a garage that you've converted if you're like thinking about an investor. So this is the kind of generational wealth talk that I'm talking about. You overcoming all the pushback that you may be getting or may be hearing. And again, just hand them over to me, let me talk to them. And and how does that look compared to a fee worksheet? All this stuff that I just did. Now, is a buyer going to be interested in this loan officer or this loan officer? So again, showing, not telling, just showing what does building generational wealth look like, not this two-dimensional fee worksheet that just has rates and fees. So then, like you may or may not know that brokers are really taking over market share because you kind of have to be agile and be able to change with anything that's coming your way. And I'm using the Zach Eady, Chef Curry analysis again, because banks and correspondent lenders are so big, it's hard for them to make adjustments. And then they have to be, by nature, a little bit more conservative on how they lend, which means a lot of people get left out. And, it's not our grandparents or great grandparents' mortgage anymore. People are entrepreneurs. There's a lot of outside the box buyers out there that can afford to buy a home, but there's not loan programs for them. And that's why I love being a mortgage broker. And that's why we're taking over market share. It's because we're able to do a lot more loans that are outside the box, non-QM, commercial. And Megan and Andre, as I mentioned, they're all about abundance over scarcity also. And Megan just started helping mortgage brokers realize their dreams. And then, and this is how it applies to you as a realtor, realtors have another revenue stream. So she came up with the with ancillary services. Everybody wants to have kind of the in-house. So Megan not only owns our brokerage, she also has a title company. They have commercial real estate, and she wants to for people to be as successful as she is. She just started helping people, like teaching a class on how to become a mortgage broker. And that led to, because it may be overwhelming to think about all the compliance, the licensing, so on and so forth. So she came up with the collab that, you can go on Facebook and look up the collab and join the community and see if this is for you. But as a realtor, as it applies to you and how you can separate yourself is being able to provide ancillary services. And not only that, in your interest, number one, you're not having to say no to your buyer. Hey, we have commercial loan option. We have the ability to do non-QM for self-employed or asset-based, those kinds of things. That's going to separate you from the competition. And you also want to separate, uh, you want to overcome the commission compression that's coming because of something like this new NAR settlement. So then what Megan said was, I bet realtor broker owners would love to have a mortgage entity. I mean, there's marketing agreements and there's renting the an office space to lenders, but like creating another revenue stream to overcome compression by offering realtors the opportunity for a broker in the box. And so we just started doing this in January. And in the blue, there's some of the entities that have come our way. An individual, this is kind of the sweet spot. If there's an individual loan officer that's working for a bank or a correspondent lender that thinks they can do it better, but they're kind of overwhelmed about going off on their own, that's the person who might be interested in the broker in the box, and it's essentially becoming a collab franchise. Mortgage team leaders, branch managers that work for a bank or a correspondent lender, um, like that person who loves his team and wants what's best for their team and themselves. Maybe we actually have someone from the Northwest that has a super, he was a super producer. He had an awesome team. I don't know his exact numbers, but it was, he was a $1 million a year commission guy. And he just didn't know what he didn't know, like what kind of loan software, what kind of client management system, all the things what lender should we use, all the things that could be overwhelming. Megan and Brian has been enlisted to help. He and I are her foot soldiers to reach out to realtors and realtor teams. Now, with the realtor teams, it varies. It doesn't necessarily have to be a big producing team if they may have a relationship or a relative that's a producing mortgage advisor. So, like roughly the numbers, if you're a realtor, real estate broker owner, you might be making between $300 and $500 a transaction. But if you have a mortgage entity, now you're getting up over $1,000 per transaction. So again, that's another revenue stream for doing nothing other than going into a partnership, a LLC, be a real broker owner. This is not the same as those mortgage companies that are attached to real estate companies. The people who make the money on that are just kind of corporate and the broker owner. But this is an opportunity for actually the real estate professionals, the realtors, to have another revenue stream. And then, of course, the broker owners who do 75 to 100 sides. Obviously, that's just in general. Just no one wants to be bothered on a realtor broker doesn't want to be bothered with all that entails creating a mortgage entity that they own full out. So we just help with that. We even have someone who is going to go in with 5 realtors that have maybe a smaller team, and he's going to go in with investment, a smaller donation investment to create a mortgage brokerage, and so they'll just split it 5 ways. So hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully it's been inspiring for you to see. Uh, oh shoot, my camera isn't on. Oh, how's that? Justin, are you there? Can you?
Yes, I'm here. What's up?
So you couldn't see any of that?
No, no, no. I saw everything earlier. Your camera was on.
Oh, oh, okay. I was gonna say, yeah. So, all right. So let me finish up. You had me scared there for a second.
Okay,
So,
sorry about that.
no, 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 that's okay. Uh, so, this is the link for it's my YouTube. You can I'm gonna give you you go to Help Me BA on YouTube and my playlist, my real estate playlist. And this is a 11 minute, just over 10 minute video that I'm doing that you can give to your borrowers, send to your borrowers, share with them, and let them know that this impending NAR settlement is not as scary as as it's going to be sounding, because good news doesn't really sell. So um, if you need that link, just reach out. I'm going to be doing more of these. In fact, next week I'm going to do one almost exactly the same, except I'm going to address the people who say I'm waiting for the rates to go down. So if you want to sit on that, we'll be sending the link out here in a few days. And that's it. If you have any questions, just please reach out.